the routine center of our brain, just like you said, part of our brain is designed to for that pattern seeking and building those routines.
Same thing. Yep.
When we're operating there, if we were looking at your brain activity in an fMRI,
Don't threaten me.
there's little to nothing lighting up. Welcome to Leading Without the BS. Unfiltered, unapologetic, unstoppable performance. Today we've got a great episode. It is focused on when your high performer behaviors start holding you back.
Mm-hmm. It's going to happen to everybody at some point.
Absolutely relevant to all the entrepreneurs and business leaders that we work with, because you are hard chargers, high achievers, and you have built these high performer behaviors that actually start to get counterproductive. And like you said, it happens as long as people keep pushing and advancing, it's going to happen.
It is. It's also because we're all people, and we are pattern seeking, pattern creating mammals. This is what we do.
Yeah.
We figure out, I can solve this thing this way. What I usually say to leaders when I'm working with them is, how many of you walk into your house and put your keys in the same place? And almost everybody will raise their hands and nod their heads like, of course. And I'm like, well, how come you do that?
Except for those of us who are like, where are my keys?
Yeah,
God
like,
dang
you see my keys? No, because they're not mine.
Yeah, there's that small group.
Yeah, there's that small group. Most of us, or high-functioning mammals, work to put our stuff in the same place because it's just easy. That way we're not working to figure it out. Where in the heck did I put this or put that? And that makes our life easy. And we do the same thing behaviorally when we figure out how to crack a problem, not just where do I put my keys, also what do I do when someone doesn't get something done on time, or what do I do when I want more resources, and we figure out how to crack that code, we wind up doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And then sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. Oftentimes people are totally flummoxed as to, wait a minute, I don't know how come it didn't work this time and it did work last time. If they're even really catching what happened.
Yeah. So we're going to get into the most common habits. And then we're going to talk more about habit forming and autopilot and how that really starts to become a big problem. And at some level, every single leader and entrepreneur I've worked with, this is happening. So on some level, it's happening for you. We want to shine a light so that you can see it clearly and then do something about it.
Yeah.
Because anytime that as human beings, when we're operating in autopilot or operating out of habit, we're unaware.
Yeah. Let's talk about a couple of triggers. The one thing that a couple of the things I started to think about in terms of where this is going to show up are, number one, if someone gets promoted or they move into a different role. So that's where they oftentimes don't realize, I was doing this in this situation with this person, doing this kind of work, and then they'll bring that same thing or something very darn similar into a different situation. So you change roles, you change scope or responsibility.
Well, for business owners, entrepreneurs, as you're scaling.
Yeah.
And so I am embarrassed to admit how many times now that, we continue to grow our team here at Wingspan, how many times I'm still doing something.
Yes, you are.
Even though, you can talk to any one of my team members. I'm still doing something that doesn't belong to me.
No.
Because it was me doing all the things for so many years.
Yeah.
And so all of you entrepreneurs and business leaders who are scaling, this is where it absolutely comes into play.
Yeah. And it comes from this pattern we have of, again, as humans, of I do this, I get a reward. And the reward
for sure
can be, I get promoted, I get acknowledged. Hell, I just make my numbers, I'm on track. I get a good raise at the end of the year. So we get these rewards, and whether we recognize it or not, we start to create patterns out of these things. We start to create habits or trends, and then before long, we don't even realize we're using it because we want the same end result, only we're applying a key to a lock where the key doesn't actually fit.
Yeah.
Now something totally different is required to open that door.
Yeah, there are so many good reasons that we're creating habits, and you just talked about one. So this really important for all of you to recognize is that any habit you have, it doesn't matter if you're currently labeling it good or bad, any habit you have, you only built it as a habit because at some point in the past you got a payoff.
Yeah.
Or like you said, a reward. And so it's so important to be really to exercise compassion. And
Solid.
when you're looking at your habits, know that in the past, over and over again, the only reason we ever build a habit is because we got a payoff from it. It works.
Yeah.
And so it's our success actually that helps us our success in those moments that help us to build those habits. Except then by nature, anytime we're operating out of habit, we're operating in the routine center of our brain. Just like you said, part of our brain is designed to for that pattern seeking and building those routines.
Same thing. Yep.
When we're operating there, if we were looking at your brain activity in an fMRI,
Don't threaten me.
there's little to nothing lighting up.
We're talking a good day, a regular day, today. What?
Little to nothing lighting up. No, that's for any one of us. For any one of us, when we're operating out of autopilot, there's little to nothing lighting up because we've done a really good job of building those neural pathways into highways.
Yeah. The number of folks who have done something, especially in the morning when we're first waking up, you go in and some folks will say, "Oh yeah, I've literally poured orange juice into my cereal."
Yeah.
Because you're looking at a bowl of dry stuff, you're thinking, "Oh, now I put the wet stuff in," and then you go, "Crap, that's not the wet stuff I meant to put in there." And you throw the whole thing out and start over. Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those kinds of examples, and some of the rewards we get. Well, back up 1 second because it occurred to me while you were talking that sometimes the rewards we get aren't necessarily like, "Oh, I get a raise" or "I get a promotion." It might just be a reward of I fit in. I sound, or I'm doing things like the people around me.
That's why I said payoff. Payoff is a better word in the moment because it's not necessarily a reward. We get a benefit.
Yeah,
or a
the
payoff.
benefit, sure. And that benefit though can just be, I'm part of the pack. I fit in with the pack. Because as humans we like to fit in and we like to do what our fellow primates are doing, and so if we're doing something different, sometimes it can feel really weird. You feel like, oh my gosh, I'm violating the group norm, and that can create a real concern for us, for a stumbling block.
In fact, total side note.
Yes.
I'm talking about that in my upcoming keynote.
Get on it.
Yeah. So that'll be
good.
Anyway,
we'll teaser for everybody.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what some of the patterns are that people are bringing to the table.
Well, there are so many high performer habits. They really helped us to be successful.
Sure.
And then absolutely turn against us as we're in these. Anytime that you are expanding your scope of responsibility or expanding your impact, doesn't even require a changing of a role necessarily. If you are expanding your scope of impact or scope of responsibility, you're accomplishing more with and through more people. And so here's a high performer behavior that we'll start with. The willingness to take initiative. The willingness to, there's a combination. The willingness to take initiative and also the willingness to take action. Yeah. And make things happen. Yeah. Well, how in the world does that start to work against us?
Yeah, great. It's something that I've seen and I've done where we've got, like you said, we've got a growing, amazing team. There are times where I realize, oh, there's a thing. Let me start to do that. And because that's what I'm used to. I see a problem, I attack a problem, clobber the problem, and then move on. Only now I'm going, wait a minute, there's a whole team of people we work with who are incredible, amazing, talented folks. I can just hand this off to one of them.
Yes. Or you already did, so you're just as guilty as I am. It's already been handed off.
Oh. I'm less guilty of that than you.
Except you're in the habit though. And this is where taking those high performer habits of taking initiative, taking action, it definitely starts to get in the way because a lot of times, yes, those actions aren't ours to take anymore. Yeah. There's somebody else who owns those actions. That willingness to also take initiative, that comes into play. Those combined, the taking action and taking initiative, those also come into play with the I'll just do it myself habit.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this in another episode. I'm sure we'll be talking about this. It's so common.
It is.
So many of the leaders, and I do that. I'll just do it myself.
Yeah, and sometimes oftentimes there's a good driver behind it. Only it's not finely tuned. For example, I've had leaders I've worked with just last week a leader I worked with just like last week who said, yeah, this piece of this thing, this is the critical 5%. If this thing isn't done really, really well, then the rest of it, the whole thing isn't going to work. And so instead of him just doing that 5% and handing off the other 95, he did the whole darn thing instead of working to figure out how does he slice this more finely. So there's sometimes spaces in there where people will realize I could give some guidance. I could hand off pieces of this to the team and just hold on to other parts.
Sure. Yeah. And we can go back and forth too on what most people do.
Yeah.
And what to do about it, though. You're spot on in terms of instead of someone thoughtfully selecting.
Yeah.
In fact, that's part of how leaders can get out of this jam is to start selecting. Though instead of selecting, it's just the whole enchilada. The whole enchilada.
The whole enchilada.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And okay, I know all the hard chargers that we work with, those high achievers. Most of us have some control issues. So
just a few.
And that comes into play too. And again, they're high performer behaviors up until now.
Yeah.
Except now, whoever is in charge of this project, like with your client.
Yeah.
And it could be many people who are in charge of parts of it. Well, now they're wondering because who do we want to call him? Sam.
Steve, sure.
Sam is jumping in and taking the whole enchilada and doing it. Well, now his team members are wondering a lot of things. Doesn't he trust me?
Yeah.
Doesn't Sam trust me to get this done?
Yeah.
What else is happening?
Well, they're not getting a chance to learn. So Sam knows how to do this. And if Sam wants George or Sally to be ready to take his role at some point in the future, or even be able to do this kind of work in the future, they're not getting any kind of an education when he just does it on his own. So he's really short-stopping the development of the skill bench that his team is bringing to the table.
Well, there's the growth and learning part of it. There's also you said this was my responsibility.
Well, that part specifically, yeah, that's
you said this was my responsibility. Now you're doing it.
That's a whole other game. So that's where.
So either do you not trust me?
Yep.
Do you not think I'm capable?
Yep.
Why did you hire me?
Yeah.
If you're just going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course that just cascades into a bunch of problems.
And the bad part, well, one of the other bad parts about this is because people aren't often even saying these things out loud to Sam. So they're just telling themselves stories instead of Sam just going, "Oh golly, I'm a friggin' knucklehead. I am so sorry, man. I this was yours. I gave this to you, and then I step back in. I'm going to step out." This person just tells themselves all kinds of stories without any input from Sam. And Sam doesn't even realize the dynamic that's been created, and so it can create this disconnect. And sometimes people are going, "What the hell?" Sally was such a solid worker, and all of a sudden she seems a bit aloof and she seems turned off, and I don't know what's going on. And Sally's telling herself these stories without saying anything to her manager, Sam.
Yeah, it's definitely a multifaceted problem because when Sam is on autopilot, anytime any one of us are in autopilot, we are unaware.
Yeah.
We're hypo-aware. And so unknowingly, Sam is doing this. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, yes. So now Sally is stepping back.
Also on autopilot.
And wondering, even if she's not, though, she's not, now she's hesitating. Well, he said this was mine, and then he took it back and started doing it. Well, now what am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
And so now she's hesitant, she's confused, and like you said, they're not talking about it. So this problem just continues to compound and get worse because they're unaware.
Mm-hmm. It's one of these spots where, and I wanted to highlight the Sally spot or the Sally component of it, because this is where if one person's an autopilot and the other person isn't, the situation can more readily be adjusted. If both folks are on autopilot, it's going to be pretty hard for that to get resolved until one of them pops out of autopilot. So even if Sally isn't, like if you hand something to me and then you start to do it, I'm highly likely going to go, whoa, hang on. You just gave this thing to me. Now you're starting to do it.
Are you Ivan talking to Cathy?
I'm Ivan talking to Cathy, lady.
Oh,
with the
okay.
program here.
Well,
so if you give something to me,
I'm your
going to
manager.
say, you're my manager. I'm going to say, whoa. You gave this to me. Now you're starting to do it. So who do you actually want to do this work? Because I'm going to show up in my performance zone.
Well,
and that's
you're
not
normal.
Okay. Totally get that.
You're not normal, Ivan. And so
that's not the purpose of this podcast. That's a different one.
You know for a fact what is happening almost all of the time. Sally, when her manager Sam is taken aback, Sally is not having that kind of conversation. She doesn't know how to. She's afraid to have that kind of conversation with her manager.
Yeah.
So that's how the costs just continue to add up over time. And sometimes, Sally will leave. Sam still continues to be oblivious as to what he's doing because he's operating out of autopilot.
Yeah, and then he'll go hire another person like Sally and then commit the same sins and then wonder how come the next person is frustrated, pissed off, whatever, and then bolts.
Yeah. That's what's really challenging is around habits. And these whether they were high performer before, they're not now.
Yeah.
And yet they're a habit. And so when we're in habit, we're unaware. Like it can really turn into this vicious cycle.
Yes. Yeah.
Here, as I was doing some research, actually for that keynote, this is astounding. I can ask Lauren to make sure that we put a link. If anyone else wants to geek out on the science and the research behind some of this, like I do, there's a study, I'm forgetting the names. I know Dweck was part of the study, and they found that by the time we're adults, anywhere from 45% up to 95%, we are operating out of autopilot.
Holy smokes.
When we're in a stable environment, like a stable, consistent environment, it gets up to 95%.
Holy cow.
Which is shocking.
Stunning.
And yet at the same time, how many of us are working like I do? We're most of the time we're working from home. I'm in my stable environment and there's a lot that I'm in the habit of doing.
Yeah.
Get from like in the morning, I'm not putting orange juice in though if someone moved the coffee machine, I'm not sure what would happen because I am definitely, I'm in autopilot. I've got my little routine and I like my little routine. Different parts of the day, I like my routine. So isn't that shocking though? Like 45 to 95% we're operating out of habit.
It's not surprising. It's also, because you talked about a lot of folks work from home. A lot of folks are still working, though, from some kind of an office or working someplace. So even if it's, I drive to a customer site and I do this, customer site A, customer site B, customer site C, blah, blah, they may start to all turn into the same or same-ish thing. And that could feel like a consistent work environment.
Yeah.
And certainly if you're in the office and there's so-and-so and so-and-so who are your office mates, that could very quickly feel like a stable work environment. So I would bet that happens a lot more for people than just folks who work from home.
Oh, for sure. So really important that's a fact to come to grips with. It is really, and of course, as we work with leaders every day on this, they're also shocked to really start to see clearly, as we pointed out to them, what their habits are.
Yeah.
And so, again, the habits that got you here will keep you here. Now, the vast majority of you, at least the leaders and entrepreneurs that we work with, don't want to stay where they're at.
Well,
they want to continue advancing, growing, scaling, getting to the next level for themselves, whatever that looks like for them. They don't want to stay where they're at, and yet those old habits will absolutely keep you where you're at.
Yeah. I would go a step further, which is to say those old habits may not even keep you where you're at. They will help you secure where you were. If you get promoted, though, if you're at this level and you get promoted to this level, the habits from this level may not even keep you at this level.
That's what
Let
I
me
mean,
finish.
though.
They may get you fired from that level.
That's what I mean, though.
They'll
The
keep you at
habits
the
will
label you
keep
created
your
them.
performance will keep you where you're at in terms of your level
Where
of
you were when you
performance.
created them, sure.
Now, you're spot on, though, in illustrating that.
Yeah.
Your habits are going to keep your level of performance where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Except now, you're expected to be performing here.
Yeah, because you're at a different level.
And not just expectations from others, it's the expectations of yourself.
Yeah.
Except, this is that when leaders have started to encounter some stress and pain from this gap, that's usually when they call us in.
Mm. Let's jump in a couple of the other more patterns that people bring to the table.
Yeah.
One that I hear is, call me whenever you run into any problem. So managers who want to be super helpful, and then they'll tell their team members, oh yeah, as soon as you run into something, just come let me know. And I used to be terrible about this. Absolutely terrible about it.
Well, yeah, I remember, I love, like, it's seductive for it, at least it used to, for sure. It's seductive to be that go-to person.
Yeah, feel important.
To feel important, yes. So like years ago, like a gabillion years ago, when this is gonna age me, you guys, when I had a pager that I wore. So back when I did systems administration for a mutual fund company, all their financial systems, so the systems on their trading desk, the systems that the portfolio managers used, and the other employees in the company. When something would go down, I was one of 2 or 3 that got paged.
Beep, beep, beep.
Yeah, I felt
Super Cathy.
Yeah, I felt important. I was really proud of that.
I bet.
And that happens in so many ways for entrepreneurs. And again, it's one of those to be the go-to. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Except if you continue to
goes too long.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I found was I remember one day distinctly, and it really snapped for me. It snapped into clear focus for me. Was that a team member come to my door and asked me a question, and part of my brain was telling me something's funky with this conversation. Like, you shouldn't be having this conversation with this person. And part of me was still having the conversation, and then I realized at the end, like, if I hadn't been there, they would have totally solved this on their own.
Yeah.
And so what I started to say to folks after that was, hey, as you run into a problem, take a good couple swipes at it, go left, go right, attempt this, attempt that, figure it out the best you can. And if you're not getting progress, though, after an hour or whatever, depending on what the thing was and how time sensitive it was, then yeah, absolutely, come find me.
Those are team members that reported to you.
Team members that reported to me.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, as soon as you run into a problem, because otherwise, what I quickly found was, they were working on whatever, they run into a problem, they're like, oh, that seems weird. Let me call Ivan. He said to give him a call whenever I run into a problem.
Yeah.
And it would be freaking 4:30 in the afternoon. I distinctly remember this, too. 4:30 in the afternoon, and I had hung up a phone call from the last team member who had given me a call that day. And I remember looking at my dry erase board and going, well, this is all the crap I'm going to get done now. This is most of my work day, and I'm going to start at 4:30 in the afternoon. After the meetings and after helping everybody else, I'm going to get my work done. And I used to just wear myself out.
Yeah, we're going to get into that because that's another. You're sliding into another habit, though. Coming back to being the go-to, again, it's fantastic that other people know that they can go to you.
Sure.
It's the problem is, though, when now there's another person who's the go-to, and yet sometimes it's super subtle how we continue to enforce or enable people to come to us simply by taking the call, by answering the email. Yeah. We're continuing to say, yep, I'm the go-to. I'm gonna give you what you want. And yet get frustrated that why are they still calling me? I'm not even in charge of that anymore.
Yeah.
Well, because of your habits, your autopilot behaviors, you keep teaching them you're the go-to.
Yeah.
And then, of course, and I know I've got some fantastic examples of this, where being that go-to for where you were, like me, being the go-to for so many different things within Wingspan. Well, now I'm the bottleneck.
Yeah.
And that's a huge cost for the team, even for the quality of work that you're delivering to your clients, your customers, is that everything's slowed down.
Yeah.
Because being the go-to now, it's working against you and you've turned into the bottleneck.
And I've been in a spot where I've worked myself into being that go-to, and then what I felt was I felt pressured, I felt pissed off with myself and disappointed that I wasn't helping other people stay on track because they were getting behind, they were getting frustrated, they were getting disappointed, and that really hit me hard. Because I'm like, they're upset because I'm not doing my part to help them be successful in their job, and that really,
even though you were no longer expected to be or responsible for being the go-to.
Even if I wasn't responsible, I still felt like, I'm the one who knows this.
Down.
I'm letting them down because if there wasn't someone else who was necessarily designated, I just felt like I wasn't doing my part. So, and I've worked with another leader last week or the week before who described almost exactly the same situation. They said, this isn't my thing. No one else though has been tagged to do this.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to keep doing it. And I said, you can, here's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And well, what you're also prompting me around is that whole feeling of, I don't want to let them down. Even with our clients, I might be, hey, contact Stephanie if you want some support scheduling.
Really?
Though if you run into problems, you can call or text me. Light bulbs are going off where there's still these little areas where I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Couple things though that people can do around that to advance. The first one is it's all those behaviors and even the desire and the commitment to be the go-to. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now though, it's time for you to be the go-to for where you're going. So that's a way for you to think about it. Be a go-to for where you're going, not for where you've been. That's one thing for you, one way that you can start to get out of the habit and start building new practices around it.
One of the things that I used to do, and probably this comes from where I worked for a long time, which was a software company, is we started I think about it like a tech support thing where there's first line tech support, then there's advanced tech support. And so what I started to say to folks is, hey, if you've got a problem, you can go to this person, this person, this person for that first level help. If things get really funky or hairy and you're not able to get past that, then come see me. So that'd be one option. Or if it fits into this bucket where it meets this criteria or this criteria, etc., then come see me. So that way I'm really narrowing it down for when people are leaning on me for help.
Yeah, I love that you're giving either the criteria or the description. Hey, if it's this, or this, you're describing it, then go there. Otherwise, if it gets, it's really gnarly, come to me. A third way, similar to that, though, a third way for you to make sure that you're positioning yourself to be the go-to for where you're going is it's actually, there's a couple things. I will not know things on purpose. And then I will also say, I will say, I don't know. So if, let's say, I don't know, a client asks me a question about something, like invoicing.
Yeah.
I will tell them, I have no idea because that's the truth. And I'll say, Laura and Amy are the go-to for that.
Yeah.
So I will tell them out loud that I don't know. I'll tell them who the go-to is. And I don't say, hey, I don't know, I'll find out and get back to you. Notice that that's something that a lot of us have learned.
Yeah.
Again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just still, okay, now you're the one learning, finding out, getting back to the person. it's sneaky.
It is.
Instead of saying, hey, Laura and Amy handle that. They're the go-to. I have no idea. And I wouldn't even, start to meddle in that. I'll make sure they get back to you, or, whatever. I might send an email to the client and to making that introduction, and then I'm out.
And in this case, in our business, that kind of thing makes sense. What I've seen happen, what I know I've done, and I'm sure plenty of people watching or listening will realize they've done, is person A comes to them to ask for something that, or I know, actually person B does that. And instead of just saying, oh, hey, go talk to person B, and now they're out of it, what a lot of people want to do to be nice and to be helpful is, oh, hey, I'll go tell person B you want this. And now you're still carrying it. You're still in the middle of the darn work.
Spending time.
Yeah, because you want to be nice. And what I remind folks of is, no. If this is important to them and they come to you and say, hey, I want X. Oh, okay, great. Person B is the person you really want to talk to for that. And if people say, oh, well, will you tell person B? I'll just say, oh, no, here's their information, or here their email address is such and such, or you can find them at on the company roster or whatever the heck it is, and just
like internal to the
internal, and that way it's making it real clean to back the heck out of it and not continue to do that.
Yeah, otherwise
because you're being helpful.
Yeah, you're holding their hand, like holding a little child's hand on the way.
Come on, little buddy, we'll get some gum at the store.
Yeah, that's really good. That's good. I like it. A lot of, again, though, that it's another behavior that it's another habit. We didn't even plan on. Well, we did talk about the giving the answers repeatedly, though. A lot of us have the habits around having the answers.
Sure.
Because we were expected to, rewarded for having the answers. And so as you continue to advance, again, in your scope of impact, and you're accomplishing more through more people, having the answers isn't your job. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's really... That's a real...
It's a mind bender.
It's a mind bender, yeah. Versus, first of all, having the questions is now more powerful. And it's, like I said earlier, being willing to not have the answers on purpose.
Yeah. And when I've said to folks, your job isn't to have the answers, your job is to have the questions, or to be able to redirect folks, they look at me like I have three heads.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the hell do you mean? Because most of us have built our careers on I'm the smartest person in the room, or I'm a really smart person on this thing. And so we see our value as being super tightly connected to problem, I have the solution. And what I tell leaders, especially the more senior they get, is your job isn't to have the answers. Your job is to have the questions to be able to say, what do you think? Or how would you do this in this situation? Or what factors are going to be different about this than they were about that, or we've done something similar before. So helping other people think through it now becomes the value they bring to the table, not having that answer.
Yeah, and I don't know, I'm having a hard time recalling one leader who didn't have the habit of giving the answers when team members came to them. It doesn't, whether it's direct reports, colleagues, again, we're rewarded for that, and we get that little boost of what chemical is it? The dopamine,
endorphins,
like endorphins, something. The good feeling chemicals about, hey, I know the answer. A couple things to help with that is a reminder, and talking about clients looking at you like you've got three heads. When I tell them you don't have the answer, they look at me like,
the hell I don't, lady.
Exactly. And I remind them, you have an answer for one thing. And your job isn't to give the answer. Your job isn't to, these are not your problems to solve anymore.
Yeah.
Your responsibility is now helping people get better at solving problems and getting answers. That's a huge shift for leaders.
I like to shine a light on that by asking leaders, what's the number one responsibility you have? Getting past your annual goals and objectives, if you were to peel back from any year, what's the number one responsibility you have? And a lot of times in that conversation, what pops out is growing the team, developing the team, ensuring that we're solid in how we're tackling things, are growing our skill set and our bench depth in multiple areas are going to be critical for the business over the next 3 to 5 years. I'm like, great. If that's the answer, then the best way you can do it is by stop giving the answer, which provides this crutch for folks to get along, and you help them start to, yeah, that is a tough nut to crack. How do you want to crack it? And so then, and I tell folks, like the first time people are prompted with that, they're not used to that, it can be a little bit of a, whoa, what the fuck? All of a sudden I'm in charge of coming up with the answer. What? And I said, that's okay. Just tell them, hey, this is going to be different, and this is how we're going to be working through this from now on.
Well, yeah. In addition to your team members were hired or promoted into the role because they're qualified. And so you can not give the answer and still acknowledge or encourage them around their capabilities.
Yeah.
Our team members are really totally capable.
Awesome.
And sometimes your team members are coming to you for quote unquote an answer, even though they have an answer, they're simply not confident. They're unsure of themselves.
Yeah.
And so make any time that you are in the habit of still giving the answer, they're walking away still unsure of themselves. And so, yeah, your support is more healthy and powerful when you are reminding them like how awesome they are, how knowledgeable.
Yeah. Or even going into questions of, hey, what did you choose to focus on when you came up with this answer? Not as a gotcha, as a, hey, step me through your process.
Yes.
Because what I tell a lot of leaders I work with is one of the most valuable things you can do is help other people be aware of their own mental processes, how they think through problems, what they choose to how they choose to weight factors differently in situation A versus situation F. And then how because if they get that, now they've got this, I like to think of it as this giant toolbox at their disposal, so they can say, oh, I'm running into that. Okay, I want to use this and some of that, and a little bit of this and a touch of that. And that way they're more clear on how come they're choosing these things to tackle that problem.
Well, absolutely. And when a manager is asking, hey, how are you thinking through that? Or how did you come to choose? The manager is getting so much fantastic information about what the team member is seeing, what they're considering, what they're missing.
Yeah.
Now the manager gets to be super targeted in how they support that team member as they develop in their skills and in their problem solving and whatnot. And it's a whole different exchange, because a real subtle way that leaders will be in the habit of giving the answer is they'll start running through a bunch of yes or no questions. They don't realize they're still giving the answer when they're doing that.
Yeah. I'm laughing because I distinctly remember working with the vice president of ops at a business we've done a lot of work with, and it was a call, and he had team members on there, and he was wanting to walk them through something, and he said, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this other thing? And I said, Ed, stop spoon feeding them the damn answers. Ask them, what did you do? I said, what do you realize you're doing when you keep asking them all these questions? And he stops and he goes, shit, I'm doing all the thinking. And I go, yeah, you're doing all the mental work. I'm like, who's actually learning from that process?
And if I'm on Ed's team, I'm like, first of all, most of those questions are like, well, no shit, I did this, this. Like, it comes across condescending.
It can.
Like, do you think I'm stupid?
Yeah.
And so, again, Ed being oblivious because he's in the habit, having this impact on his team members that he definitely doesn't want to have.
Nope.
And then I as one of Ed's team members, I'm already, stressed out. Most people they're working so hard. They care so much.
Yeah.
And then this is what you have for me.
Yeah, we're going back to kindergarten on this one.
Yeah, for sure. But there's right on the heels of giving the answers or solving people's problems for them is making decisions.
Oh, yeah.
For them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I call it the team member shows up with a blank piece of paper and a pen and says, "Hi boss, I've got a problem. What do I do?" And they're like just ready to take notes on whatever you tell them. And I tell leaders I work with, I say, that's a great spot just to ask a simple question. Yeah. What do you recommend?
Definitely. What do you recommend? I'm gonna raise that.
Yeah, come on.
So, because again, something subtle is happening in this behavior, in this exchange. If you're my manager, I come to you, and then let's say I am presenting some options. I'm presenting 3 options.
Oh, that's different though. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, sure. I'm presenting 3 options, and then you say, "What do you recommend?" Mm-hmm. It's still not clear to me that it's my decision to make. And so I encourage leaders to instead say, in this case, you would be saying, "Cathy, it's your decision to make." And that, how, on the receiving end, how I process that is very different. So now you've either confirmed or reinforced or maybe clarified.
Yeah.
Oh, this is my decision to make. So many times, because specific expectations or clear expectations are so often not set. Same with who has the authority to make, whose decision is this? It's not been stated out loud. And so that is really effective to put into practice.
I had a conversation with a leader, dang it, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, who was onboarding a new person. And I said to him, how are you thinking about where this person has decision-making authority right out of the gate and where they don't?
Yeah.
And he said, oh, amazing, I hadn't thought about that. And I said, here's what I recommend. I said, because they're new, I said, I think of it in 3 buckets. You as the team member, make this decision totally on your own. I don't even want to know about it. Like, it's you have the badge just to run down that road. I'm not going to get involved. That's one bucket. The middle bucket is I at least get a veto. I'm aware I at least get a veto to step in, make minor tweaks, etc. The other bucket is I'm pretty heavily involved. I said, so when someone's first starting, you're probably going to be leaning towards the I'm more heavily involved. I said, what I like to say out loud to people, though, is when you're starting, this is what's going to look like. Because as we get to know each other and figure out how we're going to work together and how you make decisions, we're going to start with me being more involved. And the goal, though, is to push this whole thing towards the end of the spectrum where you do as much as you can autonomously. Yeah, I have, we're going to start off with like the fat end of the bell curve this way, and we want to push it to your end so that you get to run without me being in the middle of stuff. Sure, there are going to be things where I'm necessary to sign off or I'm required for whatever set of reasons to be involved. The goal, though, is that you run as much of it on your own. So in that way, now that leader is like, oh my God, he said, I love that, because now I can tell them we're starting at this end of the spectrum, and then over time we're going to migrate it to that end of the spectrum.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's on this other end, him working autonomously, making decisions, and then just notifying or informing you or the team. For sure. That's fantastic.
And what helps that to work is, you talked about the authority to make different decisions, is to spell out, okay, right now, A, B, C, D fall in this bucket, 1, 2, 3, 4 fall in that bucket, et cetera, et cetera. So it's crystal clear. It's not they're guessing where they have the authority to do different things. It's really spelled out. And then over time, it can be, hey, you know what? You're showing fantastic decision making on this. A, B, and C are going from this bucket into that bucket. You can run these with just minor oversight, or maybe they go in the last bucket and you just run with these on your own. I don't even want to know.
Yeah. Well, and what's essential, though, is like you said, both team members are talking about it out loud.
Yeah. Right. And it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Oh, monumental. Yeah, for sure. Another habit.
Yeah.
That another high performer habit that starts to hinder our progress is open door policy.
Oh yeah.
Being available.
Yeah.
And in a lot of, old school manager leadership training, all of us have been encouraged. Literally, we've learned, or we've been trained to have this open door policy.
Be there for your team.
Yeah, to be available and to be that absolutely starts where, especially with the leaders we work with at a director, GM, VP level, entrepreneurs, business owners. That absolutely starts to hamstring your progress.
Yeah, I remember I worked for a manager who was in DC when I was in Charlotte, and I remember going up to the DC office one time, and I was like, "Oh gosh, I want to get some input from a manager." So I went, and his door was shut. And I remember having this moment of, "Oh crap, he's not available," and I could hear him talking on the phone or something. And normally, though, he had his door open even a little bit, so you could peek in, and he could give you the 5 minutes or whatever the heck it was. This time it was just shut, and he was working, and I was like, "Oh man." And I remember going back and eventually just figuring it out, or talking to someone else and figuring it out.
Yes.
And then that was when that light bulb clicked for me of, oh, he's not the only person around who can help me solve this problem.
Yeah. So many leaders are skeptical at first when I tell them, be less available.
Yeah.
Give yourself closed door time for the strategic thinking. And because leaders turn into a crutch. They actually enable team members to thoughtlessly come and get the answer versus like having the moment that you did. Whereas, and then that's what's exciting is leaders are like, oh, dang, this works.
It does.
They're solving it as if I were not here. Yes, that's exactly what we're aiming for.
And it can feel weird. I literally had a call last week where a leader said, wait a minute, if folks are solving problems on their own, what am I here for? And I said, lots of other things. So the way we run around the conversation, everyone kicks something out. The key, though, is that's not your job that's not your sole job as a leader, is to solve the problems of the people who work for you. That is a part of your job. You have so much else to do as well. So remember that if you're just measuring your contribution or value as how am I helping my folks solve their problems, that's not the entirety of the pie. It's a piece of the pie.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited. I'm excited for all of you to hopefully recognize yourself in the mirror and in some of our own examples. You might see yourself in some of our examples and really start to honor the habits that you've had and start to put some stronger leader behavior practices into place.
Yeah. And by honor, I'm pretty sure I know where you're going with that. I'd say have that compassion for yourself of you're doing this for darn good reasons. And that's the part to remember is it's not that you don't care or it's not that you're wanting to slow anybody down by doing the work for them or accidentally sending a message that they're not capable. It's just what you've learned to do. And it can be really hard for us to reprogram ourselves and think differently about things.
Well, it's difficult enough to change behavior. It's even more difficult to change what we've considered good disciplines.
That's a really good point.
And so, I'm excited, though, for all of you to see what you can gain by putting a little attention on these and really start to scale your business, scale your income, your opportunities. And I'm really excited to hear about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So let us know, like this on whatever platform you are on, like, subscribe, share, and add your notes in here. What else have you realized or some of your patterns or your tendencies that are biting you in the behind that used to be really helpful? We may have missed some. It's always good to hear some more.
Yeah, for sure. Share the love and get out there, put these into practice, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.